I just got my little notification that we're live. It's a beautiful thing. We'll wait
Oh,
here a second.
look
Now,
at
I will
that.
tell you. So I don't know what happened, but when I was trying to set this up for Facebook last night, it didn't work. So I did let people on Facebook know that they had to come over to YouTube. So hopefully we're not going to have anybody on Facebook who's like upset trying to figure out where the link is at. It's there. So we'll just aggregate everybody over here. It'll be hunky dory, good old time here with the Snow the Goalie crew on YouTube. We're getting people in. Hunter Mikos, he's already here. Morning, everybody. Look at that.
I'm just wondering, Russ, if I'm just so fascinated by this haircut. Like, were you inspired by Bryce Harper, shaving his beard off, that you needed to get rid of all the hair that you had?
No, my kids went back to school and taking the kids to the barber. I was like, well, I'm gonna get my hair cut. And I haven't been practicing great hygiene because it's right before the start of the NFL season and I'm writing nonstop. And so I figured, if I'm going to take them over to the barber, I may as well get it cut myself. And, I got my standard cut every, 2 months or so. I did screw up my beard though. I did that. That happened.
I did it a couple of weeks ago, Russ. Just grew back.
Yeah, that's when
it does.
Yeah,
it grows back.
It does. I legitimately freaked out because my wife, for whatever reason, likes when I have a mustache, just a mustache. So I was like, all right. She had a rough few days. And I was like, all right, I'm going to shave my beard off at night and I'll just keep the stash and I'll keep it for a day or two. And then I'm going to shave that off too. So I go and I put like the little thing on, right? The little guard. And I picked one instead of two, thinking that would just be like a nice short stash. And instead it like shaved the entire thing off. And I was like, well, I'm not going to wear the what the hell is the beard called where it's just the beard and no mustache? Like there's no way. Absolutely not.
Does your wife like more the Tom Selleck mustache, Russ, or the Ron Jeremy mustache?
I think she likes the Tom Selleck mustache. I think as long as it's a mustache, she's happy. As long as it's like the length here, you can't do just below the nose for many reasons, right? So, but yeah.
All right, Russ. While we're talking mustaches, all right.
Don't you dare bring your kid on.
I just because
no.
I've been.
No, he is banned. You can show him off on Crossed Up. You're not bringing him on our show. Absolutely not.
He said you're banned from the show.
He's not welcome.
To come on.
He is not welcome.
Russ is saying that.
He is not welcome.
Because I just wanted you to pop on.
He's not welcome.
I just want.
There's only enough room for one SanFilippo. There's only one SanFilippo on this show.
You got going. You don't want to go on screen and show off the stash.
Good.
Because you just got out of the shower.
All right. Let's focus in here, Ant. Okay. God. Nepotism. Nepo baby. Trying to put a Nepo
on the ground. He dove on the ground behind the island.
Time to get the show started. Oh, Jesus.
That was entertaining.
I have a heart. Hey guys, I have a heart out at 11 o'clock today.
And he's spending 2 minutes talking about his son's mustache. Kill me. Hey, so we have a lot of stuff. A lot of comments already coming in. We'll address a little bit of what's in the comments, I think, as we get going through this episode today.
Yeah, I promise we're going to address Michkov because this was a thing that's been going crazy, and I'm going to give you like the real deal.
Yeah, I got some stuff on it too.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it'll be like just listen. Imagine. Let me summer. I won't. Well, you know what? Let's dive into it. But I'll tell you what.
Dive into it. Let's get
it'd be like me going to coach the Philadelphia Union as the owner, and then let's say I own the team, and then I actually know shit about soccer, and then I made myself the coach.
Love it.
And then I sat out the 16-year-old phenom. That's pretty much in a nutshell what happened, right, Anthony?
Yeah, it is. It is, but there's more to it than that. But
yeah, yes, it's a funny story. Because we can make it funny because that's essentially what it is.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into it. Let's dive into it once we start the official show, which we're about to do here in about 5 seconds. A big thank you to everybody who's joining us live today for a 9:45 Eastern podcast. It's a great day. It's a great day to be a Snow the Goalie listener, to be a Snow the Goalie viewer, to be a fan of the Philadelphia Flyers, I guess. Let's dive into it, shall we? Shall. Oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Snow the Goalie, the only Flyers podcast, the People's Podcast, Players Podcast, Prognosticators Podcast, Pedialyte Podcast, the only Flyers podcast. I'm Russ Joy at Joy on Broad, joined by Anthony SanFilippo at SanFilly and Chris Therien, Bundy at CTherien6. Are we the only Flyers podcast? No. Are we? Yes. Yes and no. No and yes. We'll talk.
Now, what does that mean?
We have things to say.
What does that?
It's a great question.
Mean? Someone said you officially the only podcast. What is that?
Apparently, this person only just recently learned that there's only one Philadelphia Flyers podcast, and that's us. I don't know. That's what happens. Guys, we have a lot to get into today. Matvei Michkov. Michkov mania has been thwarted for the last 2 games as the young man has not found his way onto the ice. We're going to dive into it. Does it mean that he's bad? Was he overrated this entire time? Is Matvei Michkov a bust? 610-632. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. They don't talk about the team on the flagship station. Ah! All right, let's dive into this. Bundy, you're looking glowing. You're radiant this morning. And you're also here. And I want to go to you first.
On the Michkov thing, I want you to go to Bundy first. Then
okay, Bundy, I want to go to you first because you were making a point.
Right,
you were making a point before we started the official show. So the people who listen to this after the fact in the podcast feed, there are certain things that you miss out on. You should always go over. Make sure you go to the YouTube channel, Snow the Goalie, youtube.com/@Snow the Goalie, where you get to catch some of the banter. Bundy, you were making a comparison in what's been happening in Russia in the KHL with Matvei Michkov and with the coach, and would love you to just do that again.
So let's imagine that I was an American oligarch and I had so much money that I was able to take my daddy's money, go and buy a team, make myself the GM and coach, and not have a fucking clue what's going on with the sport that I'm coaching. All right. That's in a nutshell exactly what went on. So he's an 18-year-old, Russian phenom, call him at that age. Now, Roman Rottenberg is the coach. Now, his father and Putin are best friends. They, at first sources, they did judo together when they were 10 years old. So he's cruised his way up through the money. But essentially, I'll leave Anthony to the hockey part of this. Actually, I'll just climb into the geopolitical part of it. That in a nutshell is pretty much what's going on. They have an uneducated hockey guy coaching the team, and he's probably just trying to maybe keep the kid in check. Hey, listen, I said it on Twitter yesterday. I put it out, like I said, I'm kind of amused by some of the comments I read because at the end of the day, he's not a bust. He's just in an odd predicament right now because of the coach, because of the team. They have some veteran guys. They're a little bit better team. And I think there's also been some stuff like from the draft where he's probably been overly NHL excited, like you're drafted high, you really love the situation that probably is on the horizon for you. And maybe you've made that a little bit too public in terms of your excitement about the NHL when you're still married to this, whatever KHL team it is. So that's in a nutshell, the political landscape a little bit, but also what he's dealing with the hockey people and the egomaniac that runs the team. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. I guess in the case, well, I guess they do that over here too, where you get some power-hungry guy that decides he wants to run the team and be the GM, like maybe a Jerry Jones. In Dallas is kind of a similar type of thing, except it's done a little bit more efficiently here in the United States than it is in Russia, I would assume right now, that lovely country where the KHL is thriving. But anyway, I think that in a nutshell, and then you have an arrogant coach that's just trying to keep the 18-year-old kid like saying, you know what, up yours. I'll do what I want with you. Yeah, you're a good player. You were drafted in the NHL in the first round, but I don't care. Apparently, though, Anthony, I'm going to leave the hockey part to you right now. Apparently, he's going to be back in the lineup, though, right, in the next day or so?
Today. He's going to play today.
So there you go.
Yeah, so just to kind of give people a little bit of background here, I've spoken to a few people, couple within the Flyers organization, very high up people in the Flyers organization, and I've also spoken to an NHL scout that deals with prospects, not necessarily not an NHL scout. A scout for an NHL team who deals with the prospects doesn't really do any scouting at the NHL level. And talked about the situation and said, what is really happening here? And it's a lot of what Bundy just said is that it's a situation where they want to kind of knock him down a couple pegs early in the season, because there's been so much attention paid to him since the draft and the whole Flyers thing and how this is the only team he wants to play for and everything else and all those things, that it's almost like an old school rite of passage situation with Michkov in Russia right now with SKA St. Petersburg, where they're basically just saying, yeah, you got to earn your time, kid. And he's going to earn some time. He's going to play. I wouldn't expect him to play 20 minutes in this first game tonight. I still think he's going to be kind of like their 13th forward. He's going to probably play, 8 minutes. He'll get, 10 shifts, whatever the case might be. He's probably not going to be on the power play, although he should be. But all these things are just like a process of them trying to make him at 18 years old understand where his role is on a veteran team. It's kind of a very old school mentality over there, and that's what they're doing. But it's not anything that is being dictated politically. This is not a screw the Flyers because we had the Fedotov situation with the IIHF, and so we're going to hold out their big-time prospect from playing, and screw them. That's not what they're doing over there. As a matter of fact, what I was told is that, like last season, Michkov is likely going to ultimately end up on loan to another KHL team, which is a weird thing that they do over there that they don't do in the NHL, is they can actually loan players from one team to another. And it's usually what they do is they loan them from a really good team to a really shitty team and say, okay, now go down there, go play for that bad team, and you're going to play your 20 minutes a night and get all your shifts and really kind of develop. That's how they develop in the KHL, right? So what's going to end up happening is that Michkov is going to get moved on eventually here to another team. The thing is that Sochi would have made a lot of sense where they sent him last year. He liked playing for Sochi, but, and this is the but, is that that's the town, that's where he was when his father mysteriously died. And there's still no real understanding of what happened with dad and everything over there. And so, like, imagine being an 18-year-old kid and your dad, who is your biggest super fan, suddenly turns up, face down in a pond, and there's no explanation as to what happened.
After perhaps stating that he would look to
get
his son out of his KHL contract so that he could go play in the NHL.
Yeah, I mean,
not that there's anything suspicious there about that.
Yes.
When did that happen, Anthony?
Back in, it was in the spring. It was before the draft, just before the draft. I want to say it was like, I don't have the exact date. I think March or April. I want to say somewhere in that range, maybe even early May. I don't know. It was before the draft. It was just before the draft happened. So that occurs, and so maybe he doesn't want to go back to Sochi because it just really, it's a tough thing, man. You go back there and then you have all that starts coming back to you, like in your life at 18 years old. So that, maybe he eventually says, okay, I can go there. Maybe they want to try and move him to another team or whatever the case might be, but he's going to go elsewhere. So this is nothing. This is not a political football that they are trying to screw over the NHL or the Flyers in any stretch of the imagination. St. Petersburg is one of the top teams in the KHL. They're loaded with veteran players. And so therefore this is what happens. They are one of the richest teams, if not the richest team in the KHL, and they can do these things. And it's just kind of a little message sending thing. I would recommend that everybody go to sportsnet.ca. Bundy, do you know who Jason Bucala is? Do you remember him? He worked for years for the Florida Panthers as like their director of scouting. He was with Nashville before that. He was in the NHL for almost 20 years. So he's kind of a contributor there now. He wrote an entire story that was published yesterday on sportsnet.ca all about Michkov and his situation, and gave his honest scouting review of Michkov, and talks a lot about how good of a player he is, what his couple of weaknesses are, and there are a couple, as we talked about on the show. He's not a perfect player at 18 by any stretch of the imagination, the things he has to work on. But he also addressed the back and forth where you have some reports out that, he's a bad teammate, he's not a good, he's tough on coaches, and, he's difficult to deal with, versus the other reports that are, he's fine. He's exactly what you expect out of an 18-year-old. He's, he listens, he does what he's supposed to do. Like, so there's varying reports there. He tends to side with the latter, not the former. He doesn't believe that Michkov is a difficult player to deal with or a bad teammate. He picks the latter with him, and so he kind of goes through the whole thing, and it's really, really worth it. It's really worth the read, and you get a real good understanding of who he is and where he's going to end up. So yeah, I think that everybody just needs to pump the brakes on this story. I know I've said pump the brakes in the preseason about putting all the videos out. Now that he's playing, hey, he scores a goal today. Russ, you want to share a video of Michkov scoring a goal in the KHL game today? By all means, go nuts.
Yeah, you can, Russ.
Now you can. It's regular season, okay? It's regular season. You could do that. But I think that we've now gone the complete opposite direction, and we're panicking over the fact that he's not playing in a couple of games just because the coach is trying to assert himself as a coach. And that's it. And that's all there is to it. I mean, there's nothing more to this than that. He's not going to be here for at least 2 years, maybe 3. And just let it be, man. Let him play hockey, let him develop, let him, wherever it is, whether it's with SKA or whether it's on loan to another KHL team, just let him be himself, let him learn how to be a pro. And then when he comes over here, get excited about him. Until then, you're driving yourself crazy.
Yeah,
there is a way to get him. There's a way to get him here faster. Send Torts. Send Torts on a diplomatic mission to St. Petersburg. It's a fucking joke. It's a joke. Let the kid come play. Let the kid come play.
Torts and Putin having a conference.
I put that tweet out last night about, Russian coaches play mind games too, I guess. And somebody actually made me laugh out loud when they looked. They said, yeah, it must have been when Keenan went over there. The part with, when Mike Keenan went over to Russia to coach, that was like, it almost felt like it wasn't real. Like seeing a guy like Mike Keenan go over, and he won. He ended up winning. He won the championship.
Yeah, that was something. I was a little surprised by that.
Maybe that's why we weren't able to get through to him, man. Like back in 2020 when the pandemic was happening and we were like in talks with him to come on the show and it kept falling off. Maybe he was in Russia.
He couldn't figure out how to use Zoom.
Maybe he was in Russia.
Do you remember that?
Who's to say?
The first 2 times that he was supposed to come on this podcast, he couldn't figure out how to use the Zoom. And then when we try to make it easier for him, he ghosted us.
That's right.
He's the Bundy. He just stopped answering. Like he was answering my texts and he was like, I can't figure the Zoom thing out. This is ridiculous. Like he was going crazy on text. And I'm talking to him because we're expecting to have him on to record. We end up not recording. That happened twice. Then the third time when we made it easier and he said he understood and he doesn't show up, I start texting, hey, Mike, you there? Mike, you coming? Mike, nothing. He just went completely off the grid and stopped answering my texts.
Jay Toxic had that really great comment. Iron Curtain Mike.
Yeah. I
love it. Let's go with that. Let's roll with it.
You know what? I had a chance to broadcast with Mike Keenan one night when I was doing NBC Sports. I went back like the national stuff. I just go up and fill in once in a while for whoever was out, probably 10, 11 years ago. And many nights it was me and Keenan on, and I loved him. Yeah, like he was unbelievable. I didn't play for him, obviously, in the 80s. I wasn't old enough yet when he was coaching here, but he's just a great guy and, quite a character. But it's interesting. He's another guy. Like, I think when you talk to a lot of guys about a guy like Mike Keenan, a lot of players will have they kind of laugh at some of the stuff because he was so crazy. But at the same time, I think he's pretty respected by a lot of guys as well. It's Keenan, but he's a well-liked guy, unlike some other coaches that have egos too, that just aren't well-liked by players.
Not that there are any of those.
No, there's not.
Flyers have never employed anybody like that. Hey, so there, I guess, it was funny in the Twitter community, which we always include the link to on the show, in the podcast feed and on YouTube, I think, or at least in the podcast feed. The Twitter community is still surviving and maybe even thriving, despite the fact that I think Twitter/X has not done anything with communities in a long time. But there was I think it was an interaction with BJ Beretta. Yeah, it was. So BJ asked about Michkov and asked about the potential political fallout surrounding, the Fedotov situation. And somebody named Stakatashi said he's not projected to be here for 3 years and you're focused on being scratched for 2 games. And our longtime listener BJ said the t-shirt says Michkov Mania, not Michkov Reasonable. So listen, if Michkov doesn't get transferred to another team for the season, if he really does become a healthy scratch the entire year, we will have to now release a shirt called Michkov Reasonable. So I don't know how well that one's going to sell, but we're here for it, because we listen to the listeners and the fans. By the way, Michkov Mania, if you go to mishkovmania.com or you head over to shop.snowthegoalie.com, that of course is where you can find some of the best merchandise in the business, including a shirt like this. If you want to get the Snow the Goalie logo on a shirt, you can do that. If you want to get the Snow the Goalie crest, which shows up on some of the social media profiles, you can certainly do that as well. If you want to get Michkov Mania, by all means, you want to get Bundy's face with a shirt that says Butte, you can do that. And by the way, we have new designs coming soon. So by the start of the NHL season, there will be a few more designs available over in the Snow the Goalie store. Of course, shop.snowthegoalie.com, the only Philadelphia Flyers podcast media shop thing. All right. There's a bunch of other stuff going on in the comments, unless there was anything else that you guys wanted to hit on here with Michkov Mania.
Just to relax. Oh, it's like we said, Anthony said, it's a total nothing burger. It really is.
This is a great idea.
It's not worth the time of day to even worry about it. He's 18 years old. He's got 1,000 or 1,500 games ahead of him.
Yeah. Lester here with a great idea. Straight out of minutes with hashtag free Michkov on a shirt. If this continues, that will be available in shop.snowthegoalie.com. So, Lester, great idea. By the way, let's take a moment here. Let's pause from the hockey talk. There's a really nice thing over in the comments, and this was for Bundy. And this is where we come back to the fact that, we are always appreciative of the people who watch the show, who listen to the show. There's always something going on. And here's something very nice. Lester Nestoga says, just wanted to let you know, Bundy, I reached out to an organization around my area, and I'm finally getting help with the help and the meds I need to help battle my panic and anxiety disorder. Thanks for all you do, Bundy.
You know what, Lester, and I appreciate these little nuggets, and that's what I do. I'm someone that struggled too with things, addiction, mental health too. It's never perfect. It doesn't mean you go off the rails, but I think everybody in the world we live in now has some issues going on. And I encourage anybody that's struggling to either reach out to me or take action like Les did. And it's because it's not a big deal. It was like people would look at this and marginalize it 40 years ago, 30 years ago. It's not like that anymore. So make sure you're feeling good about yourself. But I appreciate people coming out and sharing that. And that's why I share my story openly all the time, to let them know that it is okay. It is okay to have issues, but it's okay to also work on those as well. Good job,
and
Lester.
Bundy, what's the website that people can go to?
Well, mine is for a call center. So when I say this to people, and I try to do videos, I don't like to use this platform because it's more hockey, but I will say it. If you just go to bundyrecovery.com, Bundy Recovery, look, God, is that fast?
I had that ready.
And let's say you have a mental health issue. We also, and I'll tell you about something new related to hockey really quick, which we did a couple weeks ago. You can just go to Bundy Recovery, reach out to us. You'll get a hold of that site, and I will get a hold of you. And if you have an addiction issue, we will get you placed. We'll find out what ails you, and we'll try to resolve it as long as you have a willingness to do so. Same with mental health. You know what? A month ago, we were trying to figure out our name for our new mental health housing, which is out in the Phoenixville area. And we were struggling. I said, what do we call it? And my partner, because I'm one of the partners at Pennsylvania Recovery Center and Pennsylvania Behavioral Health Center, which is all in the Delaware Valley and over the bridge in Philadelphia. We just opened Cherry Hill Recovery Center 3 weeks ago. So we're expanding. But one of the big things that we did was when we get people out, we'll get you placed. We'll get you get it figured out for you. But with that house in Phoenixville, we ended up saying I couldn't figure out a name for it. And I thought of people that have struggled with PTSD, trauma, mental health, and the relationship I've had with the Flyers Warriors guys over the years, and a lot of those amazing people. We ended up calling our housing Warriors Way, kind of in tribute to the Philadelphia Flyers Warriors team, but also anybody that's overcome an issue with mental health or trauma or going through anything for military, whatever it is, personal life stuff. You're a warrior for coming through that. And that's why we appropriately named it Warriors Way. That's our mental health housing. And we couldn't be more proud of it. So anybody that comes on here, I don't use this as my platform, but thank you for sharing. And you can get me anytime at bundyrecovery.com. And if you even have a hockey question, that will come with part of the help part as well. And you get a signed book for coming on. So there you go.
That's awesome.
thanks for the spiel for 2 minutes, but that's really what it is. And I encourage people to let them know if you're struggling, because it's only going to help. Can't keep that stuff in.
That's awesome.
Really nice. See,
Good stuff.
This is why we always say, Ant, like we sometimes joke about the fact that it's hard for us. I think that for the three of us to come up with a time that we say like, hey, every week we're going to be here at, noon on a Wednesday. But it's because, you and I are doing our normal jobs. Bundy's out there actually making a difference in the world. Not to say that what we do sucks, Ant, but like Bundy's legitimately helping people get their lives back on track and back on the right track. And he's doing really fantastic work. So
everybody does good things. Thanks.
Yeah,
guys.
and Russ, and you're legitimately helping people lose their paychecks every week. That's
shut up, Ant. God, I hate you. I hate you so much. I hate you.
So what's next on the docket, boys?
Yeah, let's go. Ant just could, you try to have one nice moment. Ant Sanfoni. So sad.
By the way, we have some great t-shirt ideas,
By the way, Brian Knowlton, Bundy, read your book. It was a real catalyst for me to go further with the help I finally admitted I needed. Again, gave it to someone else to read to. Got my ticket for your lecture at WCU. So, we can let the people know. Bundy's going to be at my alma mater, Westchester University. Westchester, the best Chester. Bundy, that's happening, I think, and it's not very far. Here, I have it up. It's Tuesday, September 19th, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
On Westchester's campus at the main hall auditorium. The hype is real. I don't know if I'm going to show up, Bundy. I don't know if I'm allowed to.
You live there. Well, what's interesting? I'm actually going to be doing it with it's a symposium and a lecture on kind of law and order in a lot of ways, and I'm going to be doing it with Chester County District Attorney Deborah Ryan, who's been quite busy the last few days trying to track down criminal escape from the jail. So it's going to be me and her. I'm thinking of, I don't know, I got to, maybe come up with like a couple cop names, because I'm working with the top cop from Chester County, and I'm going to be there with the law and order part of it. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great. It's
sure would be nice if they'd find the 5-foot-tall, 150-pound soaking wet, Brazilian murderer, who's just prowling Longwood Gardens. No big deal. Just a little scrawny dude. He has a fucking backpack now. He's just out there having a little ball for himself. Dude killed a person in South America, came up here, killed a person in North America in front of her children. He's just out there. He's out there, but he was enjoying the peonies, or he was looking at the tulips. What the? Okay, listen, I hope that she finds him. I hope they find this guy.
Is he still loose?
The streets. He's still loose. The juice is
the guy was crawling around people's fucking backyards in Chester County. You can't find that guy? A dog can't find this guy?
Find him. Because I'm going to tell you what, Bundy, your speaking engagement here might not go so. She might get booed if they don't find this guy by then.
But real quick, Russ, again, what was his physical description?
He's like 5 foot tall. I said 5. Did I say 5 feet 150? He's not 150. Or is he?
I mean, I'm just asking you. I was just asking if you give me this physical description because it sounds like a podcast host I know.
Shut up!
Hey, I was going there next.
I'm so sorry to everyone whose speakers have gotten blown out or whose headphones have blown off their head. You know what, Ant? I'm not 5 feet tall. All right.
Hey, Anthony, if we caught the guy ourselves, we could have a fucking wrestling match on Snow The Goalie. Russ and the escapee.
There's a $10,000 reward too, Bundy. We can split it.
Yeah, fuck, 10 grand, 5 grand each, and Russ gets a midget wrestling gig going with the guy. Sky low.
There's a wreshling history nugget for you there. Sky low.
I can't with you two. Here I was. She can get through a nice morning. Didn't I?
And that was all because of my Westchester lecture. We all came over and we ended up going. This is where that devolved to midget wrestling from a Westchester speech with the top cop, Deb Ryan. Good Lord, man.
Attaboy, Barry.
For those listening in the podcast feed after the fact, Barry Schaefer, what's the reward? Russ just shaved, not a coincidence. Yeah. I want to understand though. This guy has a backpack now. He's just out there. I don't get it. I genuinely don't get it, but whatever. Hey, there's somebody who dropped a comment in here twice, and I feel like it's something that we definitely should get to because it's notable and I think it's really cool. So Brian Crail says, I've been binge listening to previous episodes of the podcast over the summer. Got to the one where Russ put the NWO song over the intro of the Chuck Presser episode in 2021. Funniest thing ever. I appreciate that.
It was very funny. It was very
good. It was good. That goes way back, way back. Yeah, all the old episodes are in the podcast feed. We're getting there. It's a slow but sure process to get them all on the YouTube channel, but I guess I'd encourage people, if you're looking for something to listen to, you can go back and listen to how we've been right this whole time for many years, at the forefront of being right here on Snow The Goalie, the Only Flyers podcast. Was there anything else that you guys wanted to get to on the Flyers front? I know we were going to keep the show a little bit short today. But, Morgan Frost isn't signed. Do we care about that? Does anybody care about that?
I was just going to mention, I wouldn't panic on that either. I think that's going to be resolved before he's due to arrive at camp in the third week of September. So I think sometime in the next 2 weeks, you're going to hear about that. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about that either.
Everybody's signed just except for Frost, right?
Yeah, Frost is the only one that's still out there.
Here's a fun little nugget here. So I know that we talked about this not actually meaning anything a while ago, but some people were very worked up that like it was going to actually make a difference. But Ivan Fedotov played. The KHL pretty much flipped the proverbial bird to the IIHF and said they don't care about the ruling and that Fedotov is going to play. He will not honor the suspension. The KHL will not enforce the suspension. So Fedotov is playing. He got blown up in the first game, I think to the tune of 5 goals, if I remember correctly. It was a little while ago. I'm not surprised that the KHL isn't abiding by the ruling. There's a lot of bad blood between the Russian Federation and the IIHF, going back to other bans and Olympic bans and such. So this isn't shocking. Ant, were you surprised at all to see that they're not honoring the ruling?
I'm not surprised. That's something that I think is a little bit more, if you want to say something is a little bit more geopolitical, I think that situation is more geopolitical. Michkov is not. That's all I was trying to differentiate between the two. So I'm not surprised, but I do think that there's more like that. So that more situations that are like that are tied into the politics than Michkov is. That doesn't mean that somewhere down the road it can't get to the point where Michkov is a political football. All right, but right now he's not. So that's all. And I do, if you could, the comment right above that from HC. I just want to get to that one. He says, don't worry about anything. Everything is 100% okay. I'm not saying that at all, because this team's going to have a lot of issues during the season, and we're going to tackle those issues when they come up. But when we're talking about things that, look, this city has a tendency in every sport. It's just Philadelphia sports in general. We have a tendency to overreact to every little thing. And I'm just telling you that the things that you think that you're overreacting to right now are not worth overreacting to, because those things are fine. We're going to get to the things that are not fine once this season begins, and there's going to be plenty, and we're going to discuss them. But in the moment, the two big things that everybody's talking about with the Flyers, Michkov and Frost, are not what we should be worrying about.
That's fair.
Agreed.
That's fair. Anything else?
Do you want to go through a couple of those shirt ideas, by the way? I thought
by the way, Dr. Penglis checking in from SoCal. I haven't seen any of our friends from good morning from Michigan, says Boba Fett 31.
Yeah.
How about that?
Everybody wants their Hockey Canada update, but I mean, it's getting kind of old and tired now, I think.
Hey, how about this? A shirt that says I heart BJ with pictures of Briere and Jonesy.
I don't think we can
if we just have I
pictures.
heart and then BJ, I think that probably would that get the message across? No, we need their pictures. I guess we do.
I don't know if we could put their pictures, but maybe if you have
like get misconstrued if we just did I heart BJ.
Yeah, well, you can do real
BJ
small.
Beretta.
Yeah, BJ Perez. You could do
Yeah.
really small, like Danny above the B and Keith above the J, like really small print.
Perhaps.
That would
Maybe.
that could
Who
work.
knows?
There were a couple other ones that were funny, like that
All
were
right, hold
related
on.
to
Let's
Tortorella.
see, this is okay, here you go. Shirt idea.
there was
Play
that
like
one.
Torts is watching.
Yeah, there was a better one though above that.
It was a better one. Wow, we're throwing shade at the people who are commenting.
Not that there's anything wrong with that one
on the episode. And
it's a J Toxic 1013.
I got it. Torts hates your effort but loves this shirt. That's okay.
I thought that was pretty good.
That one's okay.
There was another one before that
listen,
too.
We'll aggregate some of these and put them in a spreadsheet, and then we can try to keep track of the different things. I don't know if there was another one. You're saying there's another one, but hey, there was a question here from a non-Flyers fan, and I think that we need to talk about it really quick.
Okay.
Ot post or overtime post. As a Bruins fan, what can we expect out of James Van Riemsdyk?
He'll fill in nicely for David Krejci.
Yeah, I mean, what can you expect? What can you expect out of JVR? You're going to be annoyed by JVR, because the guy, as big as he is, does not play as big as he is. That's what ultimately is going to be. I don't want to kill the guy because he's actually
good locker room presence.
Good locker room guy. Good.
Nice
he's
guy.
a
really
nice guy, and he's got value. I mean, there is some things that he can do well. He is a goal scorer. On the power play, he's a net front presence. Like, there are things that he brings to your team. You're going to be frustrated with his 5-on-5 play. Like, you're going to want him to go into the corner to get a puck, and you're going to see him kind of staying to the outskirts a little bit and be like, why don't you go get that, JVR? Where are you, JVR? That's what you're going to get frustrated by.
Where have you gone, James Van Riemsdyk?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, by the way, Hunter Mikos, how did Bundy enjoy Reading?
Yes.
Cool if he came back and spoke at a Royals game. I still haven't seen video of this first pitch.
I wanted the first pitch video. That's what I wanted.
Where the hell's it at?
Low and outside, but it made the glove. It was in the strike zone.
All right.
50% of the people would have swung at it.
Nick Castellanos.
Not down the middle. I'm not gonna lie either. I'm like, boy, I better get this thing up there. They moved it up a little bit so you weren't on the mound because before the game, so it's about 5 feet up. But I just tossed it like anything. I was gonna wind.
Listen.
You know what I was thinking? I felt like just throwing it right up into the netting behind everything, like the Wild thing, but it didn't happen. I loved Reading. What an unbelievable fan base! Like I couldn't believe the great support. First of all, for recovery night that was there, but also just the fans were incredible. I mean, small town parks like that. The history. I got to look at the history of the Reading of the team, the Fightin' Phils, and the players that have played there. Amazing fans. Thank you to the Reading area, Berks County, for that. I love you guys, and it was just a dynamite night. I had a blast.
You mentioned the fact that you needed to keep it up. That you were trying to get the pitch up. You're trying to get it up. And I'm glad that you were able to. At Ansage, it's kind of hard. Go ahead. Yeah.
See, he tried so hard. He tried so hard to get back at me, Bundy. He tried so hard. Just didn't quite make it. But no, going to a Reading Phillies game, that's like a fun spot to go. Like, I mean, minor league baseball just in general is fun, right? But they really do a good job with keeping the fans engaged, especially for stuff for kids. If you got kids and you want to take them to baseball, you want them to fall in love with baseball, take them to the Reading Phillies, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a good time. It's a good environment there. It's worth the drive if you're like down our way, or in South Jersey or whatever. Just take the ride, go out there for the night, and just have a good time. It's a good spot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great time.
Yeah.
PTO. I see one there about the player tryout. Anthony, anybody coming in on a PTO?
Not that I've heard of yet. That doesn't mean it won't happen. I don't think you're going to see that. But I mean, I'm not going to rule it out either. I think that they're going to try and start with what they have. They want younger players to play, and they have bodies. But you never know. I mean, maybe they get into the beginning of camp and they're like, they're watching these guys that are, they're over there skating now. Like, these guys are practicing now. It's their unofficial practices, but they're practicing.
This was a name, Ant, that was brought up about a potential PTO, potential reunion. Do you look at bringing back Wayne Simmons? And I don't see it.
Where does
last
he play?
last year was a time for that. This year is not.
Yeah.
They could have last year. Yeah.
Yeah. Why? I don't know. I wouldn't. I don't know what it does for you. I mean, I know you want to say, oh, he brings leadership to the locker room. Okay, that's great. But then you got to put him in the lineup, and who's he replacing? The players, it doesn't make any sense from that front. So
yeah.
I think that's. Oh, here you go. Here's another shirt idea. Russ is faced with a mini Ant and mini Bundy on his shoulders.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. That's great.
Ant is clearly the bad. Bundy is clearly the good. We all know this. All right. Anything else?
We have a couple 5 stars.
We do have 5 stars. We do. There is. Let's see. Oh, there was another comment over here. I tweeted something out about how it's fascinating to me.
Oh yeah,
that here we are. We are 2 weeks away. We're 2 weeks away from the start of the NHL season, of the Flyers season. And neither the Philadelphia Inquirer nor the Athletic have a Flyers writer. And it made me realize, some of the responses to it made me realize that not everybody is up to date on what's going on, or like is totally tuned into the Philly media landscape. And that's one of those things that we like to do here. So Olivia Reiner moved from the Flyers beat to the Eagles beat, where I think she's like the 3rd or 4th person on that beat. So she's not doing hockey this year, which then put Gianna Hahn in position to be the lead beat writer for the Flyers, for the Inquirer. She has opted to leave the Inquirer rather than be that lead Flyers beat person. So the Philadelphia Inquirer does not have a Flyers beat writer 2 weeks before camp opens. Pretty remarkable stuff. Charlie O'Connor is one of a number of people who recently put up I'm leaving my outlet, mostly the Athletic, and I'm going somewhere else, but I'm staying in Philly. So the Athletic now doesn't have a Flyers writer. I don't think they have an Eagles writer anymore. And I'm pretty sure they fired all the Sixers people too. So I don't know what the hell. Oh, I kind of know, but the Athletic is just, if you subscribe to the Athletic, it's time. If you haven't bailed already, I don't know what else there is to look forward to there. I think Matt Gelb is the only person with a pulse right now covering the Phillies, which is great. But I think he's the only person with a pulse that's like working over there at this point.
He's worth reading though, for what it's worth.
So if you have an Athletic subscription, it's probably for Matt Gelb with the Phillies. But then other than that, like I don't know. Beyond that, I'm not sure. So again, very interesting things happening in the Philly media landscape. And let's get to the 5-star reviews that I know you're very excited about. And are you sure that it's 2?
2.
Are you positive?
Positive.
Okay.
Yeah, because they were they were only like a day apart. So.
Oh, okay. There it is. So we have. Did we talk about Cliff's Cuts going back in and doing the updated 5-star?
Yeah, you did that. You did that one.
Okay.
Yeah, you did that one.
How about Nate QA? We did Nate QA.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Ellen?
Ellen.
At the Ellen. Okay.
Ellen.
So
yep.
Ellen C. Balazaki. The gang compliments Bundy's shaved face. So this was after the last episode, like a week and a half ago. Longtime listener, first-time reviewer. The banter and unrivaled knowledge of my beloved Orange and Black makes this pod a joy to listen to.
Thanks, Ellen.
Well done.
Thank you.
That's a good one.
Well done by Ellen.
Thanks very much.
And then we have a very long 5-star here from London Zunder. You guys are the best. I've been listening to this podcast for around a year and I love it. It's a long wait until Friday when I get to listen to the show. You guys have a good thing going with Russ steering the ship, Ant with the most up-to-date info, and Bundy the Butte with the first-hand knowledge and an F-bomb to boot. You guys always tell it how you see it. It's always real. I like lots of Flyers podcasts, but this one is the best. I put this show in the category of info versus entertainment because although you guys give opinions, your opinions are coming from facts and experience that hold weight compared to what a lot of people put out. That being said, the show is highly entertaining, and I'll have at least one legit laugh out loud moment a week listening at work with my earbuds. Maybe my coworkers think I'm nuts laughing by myself. Thanks for all you guys do. On a side note, I just want to say that I had an experience with Russ helping me out with some of the Snow the Goalie merchandise, and he couldn't have been a nicer guy. Oh, he went above and beyond, and it showed what kind of person he is, and you guys are. You guys are the real deal. Again, thank you. Go Flyers.
That's awesome.
That's
nice.
awesome. Thank you.
And Russ didn't even tell us about that story, and he usually likes to brag about things like that, about how
boastful.
Boastful. Yeah, very boastful about how he helps all these people.
Braggadocious.
So good stuff, Russ. Proud of you.
It's all good stuff. Very, very happy. So that's really nice. Pierre LeBrun's at the Athletic. There you go.
Well, that's
Exactly.
national.
So-
You were talking local. There's
there-
some good national people at the Athletic still.
It's interesting because I think everybody knew when the New York Times acquired the distressed asset that was the Athletic, and believe me, it was very distressed. That it was going to lead to some changes, and it looks like they're kind of going regional. Like they might have people cover it, like one person covers multiple teams in the same geographic area, which is
that will not work.
Will not work. But good luck out there. So yeah. By the way, there was somebody who commented off the start. We'll touch on this really quick. As part of Charlie leaving the Athletic, his podcast also announced that they're not going to continue in their current iteration. And so people are saying that makes us the only Flyers podcast.
Oh, that's
was
what
asking
that
about
was
this
at the
before.
beginning.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. We have an idea. They'll be doing something. It's just not that. So I'm sure that they'll
I'll just
make
tell
their own
everybody
announcements
like I
about
always
things, but-
will. If you want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth with complete honest and reckless abandon, this is the only place you should ever come to get any hockey info ever. I don't care. I'm just going to say it. It is. It's the truth because we'll never bullshit you. I go out of my way to make sure that you get the honest truth. And Anthony, I know gets it. The sources we have are beyond anything that I've seen in terms of what it is. And you know what, guys? I know it was an answer. I talked with this with Anthony the other day. It's almost at a point now where legacy media, in a lot of ways, has become pointless anyhow. I don't want to say it like that, but why would I don't even know the last time I read a newspaper. Like when I picked it up and said, oh, here's where I'm going to get my real information. It's not. It's places like this now because that's where the real info's siphoning through. And I think it's a matter of time before this becomes paramount and the big picture and legacy media is like out the door in a lot of ways, at least in terms of information collecting by the public.
Yeah. Russ, you had a great, I don't remember who it was, but somebody responded to that tweet that you put out about the Inquirer and the Athletic, saying something about how it doesn't matter who's going to replace them or anything along those lines. It's that the places that people are getting their information are from podcasts and social media, and the people who have a good following and good track record in those places. And I that's what led me and Bundy to have that conversation, because whoever, I don't remember who it was, and I don't know if you're looking at it to find out who it was, but
I'm looking for it now. But yeah,
that response was it really clicked. It was like, yeah, that's the case. Like that's how we're operating now. I mean, yeah, sure, I write on Crossing Broad, right? I mean, of course I write still, but it's more. I don't necessarily think it's about. I think the writing supplements what we do on the show, right? I mean, it used to be that the extraneous, that this was the extra media, that that this would be the supplement to the writing. Now the writing is a supplement to this. You're going to get better information from me and from Bundy talking here than you will even get from me writing. In all honesty, I'll be honest. There was part of me that said, should I write a post about the Michkov thing for Crossing Broad? And then I said, hey, I feel like I'll say more on the podcast than I would by writing it there. So I'm just going to talk about it on the podcast, because you're going to put a post up on Crossing Broad with a link to the podcast, and there'll probably be something in the title about it. To me, this was a better way of getting that information out than it was me writing a story. So that was just kind of, I thought that was a real interesting tweet that I said, you know what, that person, I think they nailed it.
Well, and I'll just say this really quickly, and we'll do a very quick touch and go. There is a reason that so many like VC firms, venture capital kind of places are looking to get into local sports in different ways. The Athletic was one. There's another thing that Kincaid wrote up about on Crossing Broad. And I think this is just kind of going to be where things are going to trend for the next few years, where you're going to see companies that are going to try to get in. They're going to try to go hyper local. They'll try to, poach writers. They'll try to poach podcasts. They'll offer to pay sums of money to acquire podcast feeds. And then as a content creator, you have to make the decision on, do I sell my intellectual property? Do I sell my show? Do I sell my website or my outlet? And take that money, which is a known quantity, and then move forward? Or do I stick to my guns and, you wait it out? And I will tell people, that we have now had over the last few years, including recently, a few months ago, we have had different companies come to us and have made us offers to acquire this show. And it's been a painstaking process because while Bundy has been with us for a year and a half or so, and I've been doing this for 5 years, doing what we do, going back to press roadshow days and everything.
2 years with you guys.
2 years.
Yeah.
And, for Ant and I, it's like you do this for 5 years, you try to grow it, you build it. And we've been very fortunate in that the people who listen to the show tell their friends, they tell their family, and that listener base continues to grow. And I would encourage people that if you don't mind, if you can spare the moment to go over to YouTube and to subscribe to the YouTube channel, because that's helpful. And we're going to be doing some more stuff with YouTube as the season approaches and continues. So subscribing to that show is helpful to us on a few levels. But I'll tell people that we've had some very tough conversations over the last couple of years, and specifically in the last few months. And we've kind of alluded to it at the end of shows about what we want to do. And one thing that we have pretty much agreed on across the board is we're not selling our show and our brand and our intellectual property and then having to rebrand it. And that's what some companies want people to do. And to anybody who takes that path, I wish them the best of luck. I genuinely do. And I hope it works out. But for us, it doesn't make sense for us to sell our show. The Snow the Goalie brand and what we've built is something that we are very proud of. And it's something that has caught the attention now of multiple companies and other entities that have wanted to partner with us in the past. And I'm sure that at some point we'll have more conversations down the line. But in order for us to do something like that, it has to make sense. And it has to make sense for myself, for Ant, and for Bundy. And if it doesn't, we're not going to do it. But one thing I can certainly say is, and Ant, I'm sure you could speak to this if you want to, is flattered as always to have those conversations, always open to having those conversations. But ultimately, we're going to continue to do what we do. We will be here where people are used to finding us. And we're going to continue to expand our coverage this season, even though the team's not going to be very good.
Yeah. Now, the only thing I will address, I think, Russ, you said it as well as you could say it. The only thing I will say is we were very adamant in any discussion that we've had over the years, but the ones you're referring to have been in the last several months, that we are what we are, and we're not going to change. And if you want us to change, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, and that's really what it comes down to. We would be total frauds if we changed who we are just to make a buck. That's not what the point of this is. The point of this show is to be who we are, as real with you as we can be, and have some fun talking about it and not change. Because if all of a sudden the three of us were showing up and we had to do things by the book and we had to do things under the directive of somebody else's, rule, I don't think the people would come. So when we make decisions that we make to not do something else, it's because of that. That's the first thing, first and foremost. So
yeah,
that's all I wanted to add to it.
Yeah, we do it for the fans. I mean, like I told people before, I haven't made one dime doing this. Not in 2 years, not a single penny. And you know what? I do it for the fans. I do it because I broadcasted before. People said, would you like to keep talking hockey? And you know what? I wasn't done with hockey yet. So here I am, still talking hockey, getting the message out better than I was before, because you know what? I was tethered broadcasting. I was telling you what to do, what to say. Oh, you can't say this. Oh, be careful what you say. We don't want any open mic problems. It's just, it went on and on and on. So that's why I love talking about hockey here still, because I know the truth and I'll continue speaking the truth about it. And that's what we do. I'm not, again, there's nothing that would make sense. And plus we understand the loyalty that we have from the fans as well. And the fact that we are the people that I think the fans understand, tell the truth about what's gone on, and we'll never stray from that.
Yep. We will ask people, now that we've reached this point, as people have noticed over on YouTube, there are ads on the videos now. And as you might have noticed in the podcast feed, there are ads at the beginning and the end of episodes, which you're always more than welcome to skip through if you want. If you play through them, all right, well, cool. We're going to start generating some revenue. We moved this show from the entity that it was under before to a new LLC. So now we are generating some money, which is nice, and the store, which is nice. And I think we have a few potential people lined up that are interested in advertising that are going to be local, which is nice. And we might talk to one or two that are bigger. That would also be nice. But we've always done this for the love of the show. We've always done it for the love of having the chats with the fans and listeners and the viewers. And ultimately, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. And we're going to continue to grow it. And with your help, for just $10.99 a day. No, I'm just kidding. but with the help of all of the listeners who continue to spread the word about the show, it'll continue to grow, and we'll eventually get to a point where we won't have to shill for anything. But the store is a great place to go. And if you don't mind sitting through the ads on YouTube or through the ads on the podcast feed, it'll help us. They're not that long, you know? So anyway, big thank you. I thought it was probably good for us to touch on because there have been a lot of tweets recently. We got some in the community, in the Twitter community. We got a few here on the stream, but we are going to be doing what we do, where we do it. Nothing will move or change. And in the event that somebody comes up to us with a really awesome deal and the three of us feel like this is a good offer for all three of us, well, then fine. Like we'll have that conversation, but we're not going to really come off of our position, I think. So if you're out there and you're excited, by all means. Oh, look at this. Jay Toxic. $10 super chat. There you go, Bundy. There you go. Tim bits for all you guys.
Love it.
Yo, can we plan a day for the three of us to go to camp and go to Tim Hortons? Can we do that?
Yeah. There's a Tim Horton about 3 miles from the skate zone, too. It's the only one in New Jersey I can think of.
The only one in the area.
What if we did a meetup? What if we did a meetup with some of the Snow the Goalie listeners? We went to Tim Hortons. We took over the Tim Hortons. We did a live podcast from Tim Hortons. We don't take a dime. We just go and get the Tim Hortons experience. That'd be great.
Hey,
we'll figure it out.
Maple glaze. Got to get a maple glaze while we're there.
Speaking of meeting with fans, guys, this week I just wanted everyone to know this Sunday, if you're not busy and you want to take a walk in the Navy Yard, come on down. I'll be there at 9:00 in the morning. It's a recovery month. And I'll be doing the recovery walks, and I'll also be speaking for 15 minutes down there in the Navy Yard. There'll be a lot of people, and then we're going to go for a walk from 10 to 11. It's in support of recovery month, and that's recovery walks in the Philadelphia Navy Yard this Sunday, the 10th at 9 a.m.
I love it, man. You talk about a cool place. I don't know if people have ever wandered around the Navy Yard. It is a really cool place to walk around. There's some really good stuff going on there, and they're going to build some stuff there too that's going to tie into the World Cup, I think, for 26, and maybe even beyond that. Like, if I have a feeling that once the Wells Fargo Center reaches its end, that you might see some development in that side of things as opposed to on this side. I think the Navy Yard is going to be a real happening spot within the next decade. So anyway, that's a cool spot. But all right, that's it, Russ. I think it's it. We're hit it. We're right under an hour. Perfect.
We did a good job today, guys. Give yourselves a pat on the back, and a big thank you to everybody who watched on the live stream. Remember, it's really big. And by the way, somebody mentioned this in the comments. If you watch on YouTube, whether you watch live or you watch after the fact, hit the thumbs up. Click on that thumbs up. It helps us get better presence, that wonderful YouTube algorithm. It gives us that presence as people are searching for Flyers content on YouTube. So give that a thumbs up. Obviously, we would love for you to subscribe if you can. It doesn't take much. You don't have to set the notifications if you don't want. If you do, you can subscribe and you can click the little bell to make sure that you are notified whenever there's a live stream coming up or a new episode hits the feed. So big thank you. I want to try to get to 2,000. I think if we can get to 2,000 YouTube subscribers here, let's say by like camp, that'd be really cool. And I think we're about 200 away. So we get a few thousand
share
people.
It with your friends, your family,
exactly.
Get them on board. If you want the best Flyers content, you got to come here. Nowhere else. This is it. We got it for you every week. You tell us what you want to hear, and we'll dig up some info on it. You find me
We'll
find me a man, I'll find you a crime.
That's exactly right. We'll send Iron Mike over to Russia to find the information.
I wanted to find, I was looking and I couldn't find it. And I got I think Twitter kind of screwed up the advanced search ever since they switched over to X. It doesn't
You
quite
just want to
go
complain
back.
about Elon Musk.
Oh, it kills me, man. They just destroyed Twitter. But anyway, I once had a time when I was sitting at a Flyers-Rangers game in the press box. Now, the press box back then, Bundy, if you remember, was actually in the stands. It was right behind the goal at Madison Square Garden, right?
Mhm.
And so you were literally amongst the people. It's sitting in the press box, right over the visiting, where the tunnel would go, the Zamboni tunnel, where the visiting team would go off. And for one game, I was stuck sitting between Tim Panaccio and Mike Keenan. They were on either side of me, and they were going at it like through me the entire game. And I tweeted something about that. Like, you know, I don't remember exactly what I said, but what's it like to be sitting between those two guys for an entire hockey game? And the responses I got were hysterical. So, yeah, that was an experience. I was trying to find that tweet so we could put it up on the screen, but couldn't find it. So it's back there somewhere in the annals of my time covering the Flyers from like somewhere between 09 and say 14, somewhere in those 5 years that tweet existed. But anyway.
All right, we've now gone over an hour. It's time to go. Thank you to everybody who joined us on the live show. Thank you to all of you who are going to watch this after the fact. Thank you to all those who listened in the podcast feed. Remember, as Bundy said, go tell some other Flyers fans in your life about Snow the Goalie. Let them know that we're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Pandora and Google Podcasts. You can let them know that we're on YouTube. You can just search it. If you don't want to type in youtube.com/@SnowTheGoalie, you can just search for Snow the Goalie. Find the channel, subscribe.
You can ask Alexa.
Watch the new episodes. You could ask Alexa. You can ask Siri. You could ask Google, and they'll play it in your through the smart speaker in your home.
Hey, Google.
Hey, yo.
No, do you have never seen that one with the old Italian grandmother on?
No.
Is that on?
It sounded like Yogi Bear right there.
That's what I thought. Hey, boo boo.
Yeah. No, hey, boo boo.
Biscuit?
Yeah, picnic a biscuit. No, it's it was the old Italian. There was a guy. I think it was on. I think it used to be back in the day on what was the one that social media thing that folded? The little like.
Oh, it's not Tubi. Hold on. It was the one that was like six Quibi.
No,
it was like 6 minute videos.
No, not even 6 minutes. Like long before that. It was where Bat Dad used to be. What was that one? Where was he at? The guy used to wear the Batman mask with the kids. I forget what it was called. Somebody will say it in the chat. But I mean, there was a guy who used to local. He was from Vine. It was Vine. Remember Vine?
Yeah, Vine was amazing.
Yeah, so Vine. There used to be a guy on Vine, and he was local. He was from the Philly area, who would tweet or who would put Vines out with his grandmother. And the one that was really, really popular was her trying to say, "Hey, Google," but she couldn't say Google. And she always said, "Hey, Google. Hey, Google." And so it was all this Italian grandmother stuff. It was absolutely hysterical. If you look it up, I'm sure you can find it. I'm sure there's video probably here on YouTube somewhere. But Hey, Goo is the old Italian grandmother from the Philly area. And that was the one that kind of went viral. And then he used to do a bunch of stuff with his grandmother, like surprise her, and she would start cursing at him, and it was funny. It was good.
If anybody knows that guy, get him in touch with us. snowthegoalie@gmail.com. And
He's local.
We'll bring his grandma on to talk to him.
I think she died, Russ. This was a few years back, but I think she's no longer with us. But anyway.
All right. Well,
whispering?
Thanks.
Why are we whispering?
Thanks for the great way to end the show. You derail us about Vine, and then you tell us the old gal's dead.
Ed found it. Look, Ed found it. So there's a whole compilation on YouTube. Just found it. Okay.
All right. It's time.
I'm telling you, it's worth it.
And has done irreparable damage to this episode. So, hey, if she has passed on, in loving memory, rest in peace to that Italian grandma. Hey, Goo. All right. Time to go. So for Ant at SanFilippo, for Bundy at Therien6, I'm Russ at Joy on Broad. Thanks for listening, maybe even watching Snow the Goalie, the Only Flyers podcast. We'll be back next week. Get excited, everybody. Get excited. The Flyers are almost back. But in the meantime, go Birds. Huh? They got it this week. It's going to be fine. All right, bye, everybody.